In our analysis to this point, we have demonstrated that a firm should produce where the price of the good is equal to the marginal cost. That is, where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. We've been able to identify the profit that the firm will make given the location of the price that we used. We can extend our analysis by going to a new graph that's cleaned up, and we can also explain why in this supply and demand curve graph, why the supply curve is drawn upward sloping all the time. And we return to our graph. Again, I've eliminated the profit box simply because it was too messy. And we have a quantity Q1 here. That is, a firm should produce where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, which in this case is equal to price P1. Suppose that in fact the price of the good were not D, we'll do that D1. Suppose the price were here. That is, that the demand for the good could have fallen in the market, and as a result the price fell from P1 to P2. Well, again, we should expand production to where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, or move to an output level of Q2. Why? Because the marginal revenue indicated by the now new price P1 is greater than the marginal cost all the way up to this intersection. Suppose that the price goes all the way down to this point. What should the firm do? When its demand curve, its marginal revenue is equal to P3. Well, again, it should produce where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, or an output level equal to Q3. Now, in producing that output level, you will notice that the average cost of production is greater than the price. ATC2 is higher than the price, which means that the firm is going to be losing money. But it's only losing money in terms of the fact that it has these fixed costs. If in fact the firm were to shut down in this case, it would still have to incur the fixed cost. And its average fixed cost would be equal to that vertical distance here, which means that its losses would be greater if it shut down than if it continued to operate. Its losses would be something like this area here as opposed to this much smaller box. So in the short run, the firm should in fact continue to produce, but in the long run, when it has a chance to vary its fixed factor of production, it should indeed shut down. Well, let's suppose that the price got to here. Well, let's make it here. If the price goes all the way down to P4, then it follows that even if it followed the MC equal MR rule and produced Q4 units of the good, then its variable cost would be greater than its price. It would be adding to its losses by continuing to operate. The moral of the story is that if the price ever goes below this point here, that is, we'll call this D4 and this D5, if it ever goes below the red D5, then the firm should in fact shut down. If the price goes above this price here, P5, then it should continue to operate, and it should operate along the marginal cost curve. The moral of the story is that the firms will operate along this curve, and that will be the firm's supply curve. You combine the firm's individual supply curve with all other supply curves of other individual firms, and you get a market supply curve, which will in fact be upward sloping. Thank you for being with me.